Hi, everyone. Welcome to episode 4 of Imperfectly Graceful with Harjot and Randa. We are here today to talk about what is going around and how are we feeling about it, what are we doing, what's really going on with us, and how we are handling it. So, Randa, do you want to lead the way?
Yeah, thank you, Harjot. As always, I'm always excited about these episodes and um, for always renewing the intention that here we want to be raw, real, unfiltered. We just want to say things just the way they are,
Yep.
how we are feeling them, and with the intention of, inspiring others to feel like you're not going through that. You're not alone going through that, because this is what like for me, this is what I have been feeling, for example,
Yeah.
lately. It's been strange, the amount of negative feelings that have been going through my mind, my heart, my energy. And at some point I would think, what am I exactly experiencing? Where is this coming from? Why?
Yeah.
And so at some point I would think, am I the only one? Am I going crazy? And so I'm always glad about our chats, Harjo, because you always remind me I'm not that crazy. Well, not like too crazy,
Well,
maybe just a little bit.
well, I have something to say about that. No, I'm kidding. No, you're not going crazy. And everyone, if you are feeling like you're going crazy right now with a truckload of emotions that are hitting you right now, yes, like there has been quite a lot of waves of emotions. I don't know how else to put it, that I have been feeling, and Rhonda as well, and many other people that we've been talking to, we've been working with. So yeah, we are all kind of going through this crazy time. It's a lot. It's a lot. I don't think in our lifetime, at least, we've seen anything like this. Yeah, it's a lot. There's just no other way to put it. And it's
Yeah,
also okay if you're feeling like that, right?
yeah, absolutely. And like you said, Harjot, we have been um, hearing like from our clients, our friends who have been going through like recently let's say, experiencing like the whole spectrum of emotions, not knowing how to navigate their emotional chaos, and not being able to make sense of what they are feeling. And it's probably it is, in negative feelings that
Yeah.
they're experiencing. And because, amidst all of this um like chaos and the disruption of what is normal, it is totally expected that our brains would just freak out, because brains love a structure and routine, and like they kind of feel safe with whatever is familiar. And now that most of what is familiar for us is doesn't exist anymore, or disrupted in some form, and so there are so many triggers, so many things that would trigger our brain and our nervous system to come into fight or flight. And this also contributes to our emotional state. That's why sometimes we can't make sense of what we are feeling. And so um, I don't know how like in details it's for you, but like for me, I know that it has felt like even like energetically, it felt like heavy energy just um, pouring all over me. And um, sometimes physically I would feel just like too tired and lazy, can't get myself into doing anything.
Mhm.
Emotionally I feel drained, exhausted. Some self-doubts showed up for me. um, I started to think like of all of the things that are not working in my life. And some part of me was like, um, when are these lessons going to end? Like, is there like a like I said, a graduation stage? Should I just like, I've been through a lot. I've paid my dues. I have been through a lot. And like, doesn't that mean that I should like get to that stage where I like no longer need these lessons and just like graduate and like receive all of the good that I deserve for
Yeah.
having gone through all of that?
Yeah.
That's exactly what I had been feeling, and it's strange, it's heavy, and it's not something that I want to experience. So, how did that feel for you, Harjot?
That word that you used, heavy, is so accurate, because that's exactly what my experience has been. There's been quite a lot of waves of emotions, like I said earlier, in the sense like things from past can come up, has been coming up for me, for everyone that I'm working with and coming across right now. And for me, it's kind of like, there are feelings of grief. Like, I feel like I'm grieving, I'm mourning. Of course, there's a lot of death happening around the world right now. Not even just in terms of people actually dying because of this virus. I also feel like at a spiritual meaning, there's a lot of death happening around the world with the way things were being done or have been done so far. A lot of that is dying. And when we are mourning a loss, even if it was something that ultimately was not good for us or good for the planet, mourning and grieving and losing something is heavy. When we're passing through that loss, is heavy. That energy is heavy. And so we were talking earlier, and I feel like this is what it means for me. This is how I'm looking at it, that the stuff that keeps coming up and we're feeling like, well, haven't I done work on this already? Why is this coming back to me? Well, sometimes things are always going to come back, but maybe right now it means that you're finally ready to mourn that part, that belief identity we all created around a certain persona that we are. Like whether that's issues with our self-worth, confidence, any sort of limiting beliefs, any beliefs that kind of hold us back in life. I feel like we're all experiencing the death of that. And if we can actively engage in that, great. That is going to pass. Like, we can finally mourn that part of us that isn't needed anymore. We're ready to kind of release that and move on to the next chapter. And I feel like we've all been given this opportunity collectively. And
Yeah.
and something that you shared yesterday in your video, or 2 days ago, I really resonated with that. And that at times when it feels too hard, it's okay to just sit in that for a second and breathe. Like, it's okay for you to let yourself feel that. You don't have to immediately work on this to be like, oh, this is like a red flag, I need to work on this right now. Just sitting in that awareness and allowing and surrendering can bring a lot of like relief. And it's a good, healthy way to process our difficult emotions, right? So anyways, like, that was a lot to say on that, but I have been feeling exactly the same. Heavy energy. I will feel really like creative, and I'm like energetic and excited to show up and be creative. And I do that. And then I'll have a day, like sometimes even the same day, I'll feel like such a drop of energy where I'm just like, I can't move on. Like, I can't physically, like, getting super hungry. And then like when it's time to eat, I don't have appetite at all. Waking up super hungry, wanting downstairs to have a bar of chocolate, which I have not really been craving for a long time. But all these things are there, and it's just a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I like what you said about mourning parts within us that no longer serve us. That's a beautiful way to look at it, and I think it kind of eases the pain of the heavy feelings that, at least for me, I have been experiencing. But besides going for that bar of chocolate, Harjo, what have you been doing to to like take care of yourself during this um this hard time. Maybe this would inspire also our audience to like give them ideas of, what would help through this difficult time.
Well, the chocolate part, I would just say, isn't actually the one that's helping it. That is just a craving. It's just something I want, and I feel zero guilt around it. Like, I don't care
Right.
if I'm having that chocolate bar. But I wanted to touch on something you said about, I think we had talked about this earlier to a live we did together last week or a week before. It's relating to what you said, like all the healing that we've done in the past, the mindset work, the resilience building, the practices that we put in place for ourselves are coming in so much. They're so handy right now, and I really feel if we hadn't done all that work this time, we would have been a lot worse. I feel personally I would be a lot worse because I have so much to lean back on, so many practices. But so I've just been like leaning on those a lot more. Like I'm leaning on my faith a lot. I come from a Sikh family, and so I I rely a lot on the Sikh philosophy, Gurbani, the Shabad Guru, we call it. It's a beautiful spiritual poetry. So I've been listening to a lot of kirtan, like devotional songs, that are hymns based on this book called Guru Granth. So I've been leaning on that a lot, and every time I listen to that, I physically feel myself lifted up, and my mindset just shifts. Right. There are also moments where it's like you have to make that effort to go and do that. You have to go and make an effort saying, oh my God, like I really need to do something for myself so I can shift that. So I want to say like effort is involved. Yes, it will be difficult. And if you don't feel like doing anything, that is completely okay. But when you're done with that emotion, when you're done acknowledging that, take some sort of action and execute on self-care, like Randa
Yeah.
always reminds me, Harjot, come into your feminine. You'll know how to navigate yourself through this. And
Yeah.
so, she always reminds me, have you been dancing? I'll have a music on sometimes, the devotional music on, and I'll dance with that on because I just feel that's right for me.
Yeah.
I feel that being with my body helps a lot. So that's that's what's helping me ground. Of course, like journaling and sitting with my family and having open communications with my husband, my mom, my mother-in-law, my parents, just like openly talking about what's happening and how I'm feeling and asking them how are they, like just being very like human, like being
Yeah.
vulnerable, like heart to heart, just like what we did earlier today and we do
Yeah.
regularly. That's been helping a lot. So like no like methods, it's just being a human and connect with other human beings, belong, do what makes you feel safe in your own body, in your own house.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is tricky sometimes.
Absolutely. I totally agree. And I'm glad you're like sticking to your routines because, I want to say that this is one thing that totally helps ground our brain and our nervous system because routines like soothe the brain and they kind of like the pacifier for the brain amidst all of this chaos. And so I know that at the beginning of this quarantine we leaned into maybe like breaking these routines and not sticking to them anymore, which really like aggravated things for our nervous system. And so
Yeah.
I want to say it is super important for us to stick to our routines, and I'm really grateful I have developed routines that really nourish and sustain my energy, and routines that have emotional resilience tools. And like you said, Harjot, we could experience how it truly paid off the amount of um, effort we have put into building our own resilience. We could truly experience that the big effect, the positive effect our own emotional resilience had on us during this period, which I know, like, for both of us, it helped us show up for our work, for ourselves, for our loved ones, um, like we usually do during this time. But also what, like you said, also like connecting, because we're wired for connection. We need that. It's a need, and once we satisfy that need, we kind of soothe also our nervous system. And so I'm grateful. I live with my parents and my siblings, and like this connection is like always there.
Yeah.
And also, like, there's the other part that is not really structured, not really thought of thoroughly. It just feels like my intuition leading me into that. For example,
Yeah.
in my prayers, I'm um, taking longer. I'm like grounding myself a lot more. I am basking in that feeling of being protected and safe. And I really didn't think about, like, it's not something that I planned. I just felt from within me pushed to do that, like not pushed in a bad sense, but like in a good way.
Yeah.
Um, and also, like, this past week has been for me, with all of this chaos emotionally. I could not do the mental work. I could not get myself into the mentality of like, okay, this is going on, let's try to
Yeah.
work through it, see what's triggering, and the usual work that we do. I was just like, my intuition was telling me, you just need to feel it, and that's what I did. I just
Beautiful.
felt it. I allowed it to be. I didn't remember, I even talked to you about it, and you kept asking me these questions. I told you that I don't know. I don't even know what feelings were coming up, what these feelings are. I just know that they're uncomfortable. I don't want to be experiencing them, but I'm um, pushed into just allowing them to be. I'm just gonna let them be. I'm not gonna do anything about it.
Mhm.
And when you asked me about, what's the underlying trigger, and again, I said, I really don't know, and I don't feel like right now is the time for me to do that work. I know that this does not release me from the responsibility that I have towards myself to, process the thoughts and what is the underlying trigger to that. But um, at the beginning of this week, this was not the thing that I needed to do. Like, I felt within me deeply that this is not what I'm asked to do right now. What I'm supposed to do right now is just to sit with these feelings, just allow them to be, just let them be, with zero judgment, with total unconditional acceptance of where I am
Mhm.
emotionally and mentally. And that was really very helpful. It helped me to um, move into an emotional place of like ease and compassion to myself. Yeah.
And also, like, I am very, very mindful of how much I'm allowing someone else's pain to trigger mine, because I don't want to ever show up to serve from a place of this hurts so much and I need to do something about it. I want to come from a place of how can I alleviate this person's pain? And we can't do that if we are so drenched and drained from that energy. We need to be able to sustain ourselves, give ourselves that self-care, the love, the nourishment, whatever it is that we need, so that we can hold space for someone else. So, I haven't been watching the news at all in the last week or so. I have not at all watched news. Of course, you come to know about what's happening around the world, and that's okay. You'll always get to know it. But I know a lot of colleagues who are in the healthcare, um, And there's constant sharing of doctors losing their lives, people dying, patients dying. And it is a lot to take as a fellow human, seeing other people suffer. It is a lot to take, and it's okay to feel like you don't know how to process that. There's no book on death. You can only lean back on the things that just make you feel connected in that moment. And if you need to just walk through that sadness and be sad for a bit, that's completely okay. It's a human thing to do. So that has been my sort of thing too, like leaning on my faith and just allowing myself to be human. I think it feels the most graceful right now. There's a lot of imperfection there. There's a lot of eating of, well, I wouldn't say a lot actually to eat. I would not say I'm eating a lot of chocolate. I've actually been very, very mindful of wanting to eat good food, and there's a part of me which is like, oh, I should just watch a new show. I should watch all these shows that I wanted to watch. They're just sitting there. I have been reading books. And I just can't make myself watch some shows. Like, that feeling is just not the same. I just can't relax into it, right? So I'm just moving away from that. Like, it's not something that's making me feel relaxed, so I'm not doing it. Like watching the shows. If that changes next week, I'll lean into that. So I'm just doing what feels the right thing to do. There's just no right answers right now, honestly.
Absolutely, yeah. As long as we're allowing our intuition to lead us, then that's exactly what we need to be doing at that exact moment. And so, yeah, I'm happy you're doing that.
I had a conversation with my dad a few days ago, because we had the official spring in the East Indian culture. It's called Vaisakhi, and it's a very important religious sort of day, historic day for Sikhs, people who are Sikh too. So anyways, I always have these really interesting conversations with him, and he said something to me that really struck something deep within me, that I really wanted to grasp that and apply it to what's happening in my life right now, like with this COVID. So there's this word called Amrit in the Sikh, or it's a word in Punjabi, right, my language. Amrit just means like, it's like some people usually refer it to like the holy water, or something that's very sweet, that's very like good for your soul. So it's not just for the holy water, it's just a word. It just means, Amrit literally means life, right? And the opposite of Amrit means Mrit, which means death. So Amrit means life, life's sustaining, life-giving, and Mrit means death. And I loved having that conversation and realization that right now, how much of this Amrit can I pour into my life, into my work, through my thoughts? Are my thoughts aligned with life? Are my thoughts life-giving, or are they dying? Are they like going towards death of something, or not life? And so having that contrast, I don't know if maybe that's a little bit too complicated to talk about right now. So having that understanding has been really like carrying me through these days, where I feel like, okay, is this life sustaining? Is this supporting of life? That could be me physically, mentally, or that could be, in the content I'm writing. Is this content life-giving? Is it supporting life and joy and happiness and ongoing like growth and progress? Or is this creating fear and fear of death, or ending things, or just being negative and just diminishing, draining? So like having that contrast is helping me a lot to navigate through whatever it is that I need to navigate through.
I think it's a beautiful thought that you have shared. What you're saying is, I think we all need to be aware of that at every moment, realizing how impactful our energy is, and coming into that from like being responsible, feeling that we are truly responsible for whatever energy we are feeding into the field. I think it's beautiful that we, if we could, most of the time be aware of like what kind of energy are we bringing. And so even when we are feeling down, I think that if at least we could get ourselves into feeling compassion, even just for ourselves, at that moment, then we're definitely feeding that field with a, like you said, life giving or life nourishing type of energy or feeling.
Yes, like anyone listening who's been also feeling quite a lot of heaviness and a spectrum of emotions, at this time, do what you need to do the most. Like, what is needed the most? You don't need to create crazy strategies right now. Just lean on your basic support systems. Eat good, sleep right, take care of your body, take care of your mind. I mean, use the internet to find a nice guided meditation, relax into that. Do something for your soul. Because if you can lift your own energy, you will pour more of that to your surroundings. And then it's a ripple effect. If you just lift up your own energy, you kind of, it's like a domino effect, right? Connect with your people, connect with us. If you feel like right now you don't have anyone to reach out to and talk about what you're feeling, and maybe you feel like others won't get it, look, look at what we're talking about. We will definitely get it. So reach out to Randa and I. Just send us a message through our page, and we'll get, we'll facilitate that for you. Just reach out, talk about it, connect. Even if you don't want to talk about the heavy feelings, just have a light-hearted, fun chat with your best friend, your loved ones. Use some light breathing. We are going to share a really good breathing technique that you can do it anywhere at any time. Doesn't matter what you're doing. So Rhonda is going to guide us with a breathing technique. And with that, we're going to end this episode. We're not done talking about all the human things yet. We're going to keep coming back and talking about the human things, and just really like digging deep and like unlocking all that's just sitting there and coming to our true essences, right? Empowering ourselves. So for today, this is all we have to share, unless Rhonda has to share anything else. And now I'm going to ask Rhonda to guide us with this beautiful breathing technique. And I want you to do this throughout the day, especially when you are sitting with any kind of heavy energy or confusion or overwhelm. All right, Rhonda?
Thank you, Harjot. And like Harjot said, this is very simple and very practical. You can keep your eyes open. Just try to breathe slower and deeper than you normally would. And if you want, you can put your hand over your heart area and take a slow, deep breath in and a long breath out. Maybe 4 to 5 seconds in and 4 to 5 seconds out. That feels comfortable for you. Now focus on your heart area. Imagine the breath is coming into your heart and it's going out of your heart. Feel your heart with every in-breath and out-breath. Even if thoughts pop up on your mind, just softly bring your focus back and your attention into your heart. Always imagining the breath is coming into your heart and it's going out of your heart. You can do this as often as you want during the day, whatever you are doing. Just focus on your heart and breathe slower and deeper than you normally would. I hope you enjoyed this. Thank you, and I'll see you. Bye.
Thank you, everyone. See you guys. We'll see you guys again with the next episode. Bye. Take care.